Working with the VFL side, there's a really strong emphasis on developing the player and also developing their education as far as the roles and expectations, but also a little bit about the way that we want to play the game as well. So we tend to work with predominantly the younger guys. So it's more of a learning environment for those guys. They come into the system and we're teaching them, and then as they evolve and as they progress, we see that they transition into senior footy really well.
What we want to do with all our players, and particularly our younger players, look, you're coming into the VFL program, and we want to be competitive in everything that we do. And but at the same time, we want to prepare our players to play AFL football for Collingwood. Essentially, that's why they're here, to play AFL footy. They're drafted into the program, and the 45 boys on the list have got aspirations to play AFL footy. Great to be sort of back into it, and the boys did a terrific job last week against Richmond. So, look, the aim is, as it is every week, to sort of bring that intensity. And look, just reviewing the game last week myself, and there were some terrific aspects of it. The previous couple of weeks there was components of it that we did really, really well, but we clearly saw last week a four-quarter effort, and personnel slightly changes this week, some experience into the group. At the same time, we've obviously lost a little bit through the mid, so there's going to be challenges again for us, but we're aiming to have that strong four-quarter effort.
We mirror everything the AFL does at VFL level, and during the week we have the same meetings and the same warm-up on game day, and that's the mantra that we have, and we try to coach the players to get the best out of them week to week and prepare them to play AFL football.
We want to enable them to have a set of behaviours that withstand the pressures that the AFL challenge will throw at them on a consistent basis. So we base around our game around that, and coach them on those behaviours and standards that they'll need to play at the next level, whether you're a first-year player or whether a player coming back and to recapture a little bit of form and confidence. Firstly, to Jesse and Maxie both coming back. Whitey, obviously Bucks spoke to you and had discussion with him. So look, you'll take weight. Okay, so that's your role. Okay, so you'll look after him. We'll go through a little bit and we'll show a little bit of vision what he's sort of been doing at VFL level.
Looking at the next opposition is looking at likely opponents, looking at your role, trying to work out what we're trying to do and combat what the opposition are trying to do, and obviously then you work into game day and you try and execute that plan. So the weeks fly by. But there are consistent themes from week to week and month to month on where the guys need to improve, and also the stuff that they acknowledge what they're doing really well.
So Reedy, ideally we want you marking everyone, but realistically all we need is a real good contest. Ball come to ground. Corey, same. Where are you, mate? Look, one thing watching the game last week, which is besides your marking, but has been really pleasing in the games that you've played, has been just your effort to compete. It's been excellent. And Paddy, the same. Just bring that effort, then your talent takes over.
We try to coach our players through their strengths, so every day they come in here, we want to see what they're good at. Derek Hine does a terrific job with his recruiting department to get players into the system, and we want to see what they're good at. So ultimately we're looking for those, or evidence of those things in training and within games, which then ultimately gives them the opportunity to play AFL football.
So the duty of care program is a system that we've got operating here at the club where the coaches are assigned sort of 4 or 5 players.
When a new player comes to the footy club, Craig McRae, who's a head of development, he assesses each player and he sees which duty of care coach he can assign them to. So if they're probably a forward or a marking or a ruck type player, then they're probably going to come to me. Backline players will go to Steve Grace, and the smaller midfield type players will go to Tarkin Lockyer.
Every player on the list is accountable to a coach. So those coaches and those players would have a strong relationship and also a really good awareness of how they're tracking, particularly the coaches knowing what the players are doing, the extra work they're putting in, not just on the footy field as well. It's about knowing sort of what's happening outside of football in their life and taking a little bit of care to understand that yes, they are a player, but they're also a person as well.
Well, it's about building a relationship with these kids, earning their trust, and them earning my trust as well.
I think on a day-to-day, that's the most important thing, to have conversations. And whether it's from looking at football footage, whether it's spending time with them, either outside or inside, I think it's important to have open conversations going the whole time, so that when there are minor changes in a player's demeanour, whether that's physical or mental, is that you're able to be there and you're able to ask the right questions at the right time.
These kids come here, they've got the ability, because obviously we draft them because they've got ability. It's just a matter of fine-tuning to play AFL footy.
We've got a diverse group at VFL level. Obviously, when you look at a match day and the profile of our list, we've got AFL listed players, we've got obviously AFL rookies, and then we've got our VFL listed players as well. So the amount of time that we spend with the individuals, depending on if they're AFL listed, obviously we get a huge amount of time to spend with those guys throughout the week. The VFL listed players, we get far less face-to-face sort of contact with those guys. So the amount of training that they do together as a collective is not a huge amount of time. Generally towards the end of the week they might get one session together. So it is, I suppose, a tug of war at times on whether you can gel them together enough to fulfil the needs of the team. So that's always a balancing act, but I think we've got a really good combination and a really good buy-in from both sides of the coin. So the VFL listed players, I'm sure they feel wanted and needed in their role within the footy club, and certainly the way that they're embraced from the AFL boys has been really good. So even the guys who attend the VFL games, not only the VFL listed players that aren't playing, but also the AFL listed guys, they're getting feedback from the senior coach, from the assistant coaches. Also, we see a lot of the leadership group and the senior players coming into the rooms at half time and after the game, and I think that's a great part of our program at the moment, and it just makes those guys feel appreciated, and the feedback that they would get would be terrific.
Take your space.
If you ultimately want to be successful at any level, you need depth of talent and depth of strong performances, and that's what we're trying to create. I think we're on the mark of achieving that.
The vehicle that is the VFL is obviously there to aid our senior team, and the beauty of it is that we have total control on our players. The way they play, the amount of game time they play, the roles, etc. We totally control that. So when they step into senior footy, they should be really familiar with the environment that we've created. In saying that, we're still really competitive, and we still want to win every time we go out. There's a strong emphasis on being competitive and certainly wanting to win every contest we play. So we're in an elite environment. We're in a cutthroat environment as well, where win-loss sort of means a hell of a lot. But certainly that focus on developing our players and developing the way they play so that we can support the senior team is certainly a strong element of that as well.
The numbers aren't favourable. I know. And I don't need a piece of paper to tell me that.
Aerial support contest, bring the ground, allows our smalls to come in. Backs, be aggressive with your positioning, dictate this in ribs. Don't be led to the ball. Marshy, don't be led to the ball, okay? And then we go from there. Right, let's finish it off. Out.
I was disappointed. Sort of come here with high hopes of getting the job done, and I suppose we lost a couple in the second quarter, which hurt us. But ultimately, you lick your wounds and get on with it. They played well, the opposition, and we got 5 or 6 games to go to put ourselves up in the ladder.
It's obviously disappointing. I think we ended up losing by about 3 goals. It was a pretty close game till probably about halfway through the last quarter, but we were still in it, so feeling pretty sore and a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, good to be out there playing again, but obviously disappointing result. Both games over the weekend, so we're obviously going to have some detailed reviews tomorrow. We've got to be better, and we expect better, and we set higher standards for ourselves, but unfortunately we lost both games.
Yeah, well, obviously being put back to the VFL level, obviously got a few things to work on, so it's good to try and play some consistent footy, and if I can keep working on that and keep improving, hopefully I can get another crack at AFL level soon enough.
The importance for our players at VFL level to play consistent high-level football and to put pressure on senior selection is obviously vitally important for the health of the list and the health of the club as well. The guys are obviously disappointed to be down at VFL level, and some through form, some through coming back through injury. The way that they attack their footy, their attitude, the application to the program is generally really good. So you bring that attitude and you perform well, but you give yourself every chance to get picked by the match committee.
We've just arrived at the airport here. Usually arrive probably half an hour before the players get here. Just got to make sure we've got all players on the booking, we've got all the boarding passes. Sometimes we arrive and there's a few players missing or some staff missing. They might be on a separate booking, so we just got to make sure we've got everything covered. That way when the players arrive, I can just give them their boarding pass. They can head straight down to the lounge, pick up their snack pack from Emily, and hopefully be all smooth sailing until we get to the Gold Coast.
So we just provide some pretty fun, simple snacks for them, basically just to, more probably around boredom than anything while they're sitting on the plane. So we've got some muesli bars, healthy muesli bars, some popcorn, healthy popcorn, and then nuts and dried fruit. But also we've got some yogurt as well, so just for some good protein for them. And it just helps them, I suppose, so they don't go and buy naughty snacks when they go to the shops. So we just provide that for them, and then they also get a good bottle of water as well.
So at Melbourne Airport today, about to hold a press conference with Lockie Keefe. We want to show supporters and media that we're travelling up to the Gold Coast. We chose Lockie Keefe today because he's in the middle of media training and we wanted to give him a bit more experience. He also comes from the Gold Coast, so there's a fair bit of support behind him up there. So we should get most of the TV, the 6 p.m. bulletin cameras coming today, as well as a few websites like AFL.com. A lot of the radio reporters will show up and get grabs for their hourly news as well, and also the print journalists from The Age and the Herald Sun. So like we were speaking about in media training the other day, you'll probably get the McCaffer questions, like will we go to Ablett? Buck said in his presser the other day, he basically admitted that he would, and it was the obvious choice, so there's not really too much you can say about that. I guess the young defence is another one you'll get with no Maxi, no Brown, Reid, etc. So I think it's probably a good opportunity to talk about how young the team is. Yeah. Any questions or no? You'll be right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you saw how you answered everything. So yeah.
With such a big group, it's all about preparation. I mean, a lot of our work's done prior to arriving at the airport. When we travel, it's all about routine. We don't compromise on anything. There's so much preparation done. We need it to run like clockwork every time. Similar times travelling, similar food, players even sit in a similar seat. I mean, that way they're comfortable. It's a very high performance environment. We just need it to run like clockwork. We'll land up at the Gold Coast about 4:10. From there, we'll get the bus straight to the hotel. The boys will do a bit of recovery in the hotel pool. They've got a great pool there. It's a really high performance facility. From there, we'll go to dinner, and then the players will have time off tonight. Then when we get into tomorrow, it's kicking into game day mode, which is very structured, very rigid. Same kind of schedule every time we travel. And hopefully having that consistency helps the players relax and hopefully get the result we're after.
The whole aim right now is just to get the guys moving in the pool, just get them loosened up and then refresh them more than anything. So we'll use the two pools, which is a bit of contrast, and then obviously on to meetings and then food, and that leads into tomorrow in the big game. You've got to go with the flow. I mean, travelling is one of those things that you don't ultimately have a lot of control over, airlines and so forth. So whilst everything's organised and planned in detail, I think it's really important to remember that you've just got to relax with it and go with the flow. There's no point getting stressed about the day. And certainly this has been a really seamless day in terms of preparation, but that's my experience. That's what happens most of the time. Every now and again you get a hiccup. There's no point getting stressed about it. You've just got to deal with it and move on.
week leading into the grand final on the Wednesday, when we sort of did a big fitness test and a real sort of match simulation training session. That's when I guess hurt the groin and kept it a secret and sort of kept it to myself, hoping that it wasn't too bad. And as tough a call it was to make, that sort of all the parties, the physios and myself and Mick just thought it was probably, it definitely wasn't going to be able to play. And I guess it sort of reiterated it the next day when I actually was hobbling around and pretty sore and probably couldn't have even got through the warm-up and things like that. So, which essentially sort of made it a little bit easier, that it sort of put it in, almost 100% that I couldn't play.
So Collingwood win by their greatest ever margin in a grand final. It doesn't get better than that.
Who's to know, if I had played and had broken down within 5 minutes and something like that, I might not have been here. I might have been, just an outcast of the Collingwood Footy Club for costing them a premiership or something like that. So essentially it's a game, like, I'm not going to let it ruin my life, this one event where I made, a tough call. So I retired from the game, and I guess luckily enough I was offered a position on the admin side. I guess it's been a great opportunity that I've managed to stay within an industry that I'm passionate about, I guess know a fair bit about, and it's really been a big eye-opener to see the business and management side of a football club coming from the playing side. You go out and you play every week and you don't really appreciate the sort of hard work it goes into getting 80,000 members or getting a program like the Collingwood Forever program up. The Collingwood Forever event, I guess, is a celebration of the past players. So essentially it's a chance for all the past players to come back together, join their ex-teammates, past players, current players, and I guess really just celebrate that they've played for Collingwood. Great opportunity to catch up, see old teammates that you haven't seen for years, and I guess from a personal point of view, I'm really looking forward to it. In terms of the Collingwood Forever event, the Guernsey that they're wearing in the round 23 clash with every player that's ever played a game with their name on the Guernsey. So I've been involved in the manufacture, and I guess part involvement in getting the whole list and dealing with the AFL and making sure we've got every single player that's played a game is actually represented on the Guernsey. The painting that Jamie Cooper's painting for the event, I've been involved with helping, I guess, choose some of the special moments that he's portraying in the painting as part of my role, looking towards the retail side of the painting. So there'll be one print for every player that's ever played. So there'll be 1,111 prints made, and they'll be going to the public to purchase. I guess it is my life. I'm 36. I've probably played 15 years, been in admin for 3 or so. So it has been half of my life has been at the Collingwood Footy Club.
John's had Parkinson's for 23 years now. He hasn't had too much trouble until the probably last 18 months, when he slowed down a bit. He's an avid gardener and loves to walk and loves to do a lot of outdoor things. It affects his speech a little bit. We're just wanting to keep him doing all the things that he loves doing. We were at the game, the Carlton-Collingwood game, the great rivalry. We had no idea, in fact, that when we got there was actually not a raffle, but I guess an opportunity that there were 2 tickets to Europe, 2 business class tickets that Emirates were providing. So we just sat back and were enjoying, sort of ourselves and with friends and family, and waiting for the game to start. And then Eddie decided to read out the ticket number, and lo and behold, my husband was holding the winning ticket.
When the 9 came, I went, I don't want to do. I just went, yes. Well, we're going to go to UK, and I never thought I'd ever see Portsmouth play again. They're my favourite team in UK. And we're able to do that now. Collingwood supporters are very similar to Portsmouth. I think the only difference between Portsmouth is that they've never had a really successful period of time like Collingwood has. But the atmosphere is very similar And Portsmouth supporters are very passionate, same as Collingwood. We've always seemed to be never in a position where there's always something else to spend our money on. But I've been worried that I'm going to get too bad and not be able to go ever, you know. So this time we're grabbing the opportunity with both hands.
He's well enough to get on that plane and go and see his team and you know, see England and one more time and
rock one more time.
Yeah, that for all of us is a very, very exciting thing.
My name's Tim Manafort. I'm from Mad Hairdressing. I look after all the Collingwood boys. Been doing their hair for, I reckon, 5-6 years now. Built up some really good relationships with them. Swanee was my first one, Dane. What else do I do? I do, you know, Goldie. He's growing his hair, do tubes. He's a little bit, he's getting there, Lovely guy. I do Alex Osolo, he's an absolute gun. Do Joshy Thomas's hair. He's a really lovely guy. Do Paul Seedsman's hair. He lets me gives me free rein. Do Big Witsy's hair. I've actually got Trav coming in a minute, and we're going to give him a modern scumbag sort of look. It's quite aggressive, still very tailored, but moving on to a bit more gangster. Yeah, so just getting him ready for the weekend. I love watching them sort of on the field, sort of, you know, their hair looking sort of good. Always give them a bit of a buzz if I think they need a trim. And yeah, it's good. Well, what we're doing today, because last time we went quite tight with Trav's hair, was a bit short, but we wanted to get a bit of length on top. So today, I'm just going for that little bit more of a modern scumbag sort of a look, you know, back sort of in the day. So things a little bit more rougher, a little bit more rugged. We're sort of moving on from the more tailored, sort of tailored looks. So yeah, so what we're doing is we're just starting off sort of quite short and tight and just working up to a little bit of a corner through here. We're actually not going to touch the top, so we want to sort of keep that nice and long. So that's his bit that he can sort of play with, put a bit of product in, dress it around.
Oh, good, buddy.
You're a champion. Thank you. You got your hat? Don't forget your hat. All right. Good on you. Appreciate it.
I love being a member of the Magpie Army.
Because I'm part of one of the biggest sporting clubs in the world. I love sharing my dreams.
There's over 1 million others that bleed black and white like me.
And it's in my blood.
This jumper makes me feel 10 feet tall. A packed MCG every week.
Collingwood domination, envy of the nation.
We